We are live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I am your host, Brother Mordeed, and this is another glorious POD podcast show. I have a great panel today, and we're going to get into some nice things today. Controversial, but always needed.
Peace!
And we are back. How's everybody?
Great.
Everybody's good?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to welcome to the show. We're just going to call her JV. New to the panel. JV. New to the panel. We brought some female energy, much needed energy to the show. And I think y'all will definitely enjoy her energy as well as the topic that we're going to discuss today. Always and forever, my co-host DCR in the building. What's up, brother?
Peace. I'm doing fine. Ready to get it on.
How is everybody as far as where they're hailing from? I'm in Atlanta, so how's the weather and things and that where people are? I'm in Atlanta. We was like 70-ish degrees today, so the weather was kind of nice today. How was it?
Yo, it's
Same.
classic.
Said classic.
Classic.
So I take it as it's cold.
It's cold, beautiful. It's like the spirit is back. A few years ago, it felt like it was dying. It was getting a little warm around this time. So, you know what I mean? It was just like more like a 70s or like, 75 degrees. Now it's sticking around to 40. And I love it, man. It's the best thing ever.
It's a little crispy.
I love it.
Jay, where you at? You're in Florida, right?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. How's the weather down there?
Beautiful.
What y'all in the 70s, 80s?
We're in the 70s. Nice cool
All right.
breeze.
70s is nice.
70s is definitely nice. It's my favorite time of year, though. So when it gets a little cooler, I appreciate that a little more. But yeah,
when it's hot, it's hot.
when it's hot, it's hot. Yeah.
Crispy hot. Florida got a different type of sunshine. I guess that's why
They got different bugs too.
said different bugs. All the times I've been in Florida, it was like early in the morning, just going outside. It seems like the sun was just like right there by my face.
Oh my gosh, I say this all the time to people, and they don't understand what I'm saying because they're from here. But I always say, even when it rains, like the thunderstorms, it's like right over you. Like it's like you can reach up and touch the clouds and the sun and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's real. I guess I'm not the only one, but I always like, yo, man, the sun is just like right here, like blow.
You're like the first person I've ever heard say it because I say it all the time. People they're from here, so they don't know.
I just want to say one thing. I woke up at 3 o'clock yesterday in the morning. And I had to make a run. I had to go to up north, New York, whatever. I was looking up at the sky. I seen something crazy, y'all. So I can't, I don't want to talk about it because, I mean, I can't prove it or whatever, but I seen something unusual in the sky, man. Shit had me shocked a little bit, but I was like, maybe it was something. Man, I'm telling you, it was something, man. Can't explain what it was, but it was something in the sky, bro. Something just like an explosion or something like that. But it was something crazy, like a laser explosion. It was weird, man. But it was real. It was real, man. but I can't
Stranger
figure it
Things.
out. Huh?
Yeah, I said we're in the time of Stranger Things.
Yeah, man, because it shot right across. Like, you know, I'm just driving off. I just saw a big light, and it just boom, and then it just disappeared quick.
Interesting. Well,
It was like laser. It's like a laser. Like it just.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
lot
know
of
what.
stuff going on. People witnessing a lot of things, but we're just in the phase of the veil being really thin, and people are going to experience and see a lot of things that they can't explain, and it's going to become so frequent that it's going to just become normal, you know. So, which when you look at the evolution of our planet, we kind of left behind because the powers that be have kind of stunted our growth over the years, over the decades, over, you know. So we should be farther along in the evolution when it comes to things like this. So now we kind of got to play catch up. But our entire planet is we have arrested development because our development was kind of tinkered with. So it kind of held us back a little bit, but all that's, you know, we're in the phase of that changing and so forth and so on. But yeah, man, I want to talk about a couple of current events right quick that I thought were very interesting, and we'll just talk about them briefly before we get into the subject at hand. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was there's a really big case going on right now that the media is not really putting too much attention on because they don't want us to really know what's going on. But it ties into a lot of the elites and their activities, and they want to kind of keep it hush hush. And if you're not really doing your due diligence to kind of dig into what's going on with it with independent news sites and you know, different people who have platforms that are covering the coverage of it, then you typically would not know that it's going on, or you'll be distracted by something else and just like whatever, going along with everyday life. But the case is dealing with Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the let's just say the madam of what's my man name that they said he killed himself in jail, Epstein. Yeah. So of course the story goes Epstein is, you know, he offed himself in jail. That's a whole nother conversation, but they got his right hand old lady who pretty much ran the operations, and she's on trial. And here's the thing about the powers that be. You know, just like the universe is set up, you got a good side and you got a bad side. And, you know, people talk about a lot of the stuff that goes on in the world that we consider bad, but we never really entertain the fact that there's a counterbalance. There's always a counterbalance, but we're not taught to focus on the counterbalance. And there are people in high places who kept this woman alive, and she's on trial. The funny thing about this case is the powers that be made sure that the ones who wanted to identify some of our Hollywood actors, big time rappers, judges, politicians, presidents, you name it, all the upper echelon people who are involved with this man, this island, this plane, the travel logs, the young girls, the child trafficking, the whole bit. They kept those two witnesses out of it because they didn't want the heat on the corporations that were involved in all this child trafficking thing that's going on. So it appears that the case is just dealing with, you know, a couple of women that he quote unquote allegedly, you know, assaulted or whatever. But it's bigger than that. And the thing is, when you see CEOs of corporations resigning, you're seeing people getting into a space where they're trying to be safe because the whole thing is crumbling down. It's the biggest case ever, but like I said, do some homework on that and look into it. I try to keep up with what's going on with it, but it's a very big case and a lot of people are tied to it. And one of the reasons why they have to put the smoke and mirrors up, because a lot of people are tied into a lot of these Hollywood people on an emotional level. They tied into some of these rappers on an emotional level that's involved in some of this stuff. And to find out that your heroes are just creeps and pedophiles, you know, it will cause a lot of disturbance in the force, as they say. But yeah, that's a big case going on right now. And if you have the time to kind of look into that, look into the Ghislaine Maxwell trial that's going on as we speak, and they will pick up Monday on the whole thing. It's a federal case, so they try not to make it public, but you can actually listen in on the case, but they don't want to make it public. So I thought that was very interesting. Did y'all know about that?
No, it's the first time hearing it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
What'd you say?
I think it's crazy that it's such a big case and there's like no coverage. Like when Bill Cosby and whoever else was, you know, they were like all over the news, but there's no coverage. Like there's nothing that
Yeah.
You didn't mention that, I would have completely forgot about her.
Yeah. Yeah, they kept her protected to make sure she made it to trial, because there's people in very powerful places to make sure she didn't see the light of day. But you know, but the pilot testified, and he put some people on that plane. He put some very prominent people on the plane. Now you can't say they were involved, but they definitely were on the flight logs.
I think
so. You'd be surprised. And the CEO of Twitter, I think he resigned. I wouldn't be surprised if later on you hear something about Disney, because Disney is tied up in this, allegedly. We gotta say that, allegedly. But yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But that goes back to us being in the apocalypse right now, the great revealing. So all this stuff that they had covered up, it's just coming to light, and we got to deal with the destruction of the reality of things have been built up and held up on falsehood and corruption for a long time, and now we're just seeing it come down in, you know, a very nice fashion. But anyway, another thing I wanted to touch on was your boy LeBron. Now LeBron was like real adamant about he didn't want, you know, to get the free lunch, and that's respectable. I mean, I'm pro-choice, so if whatever you choose, that's your choice. I respect that. I know he was very adamant about not dealing with the whole free lunch situation, and to save face, you know, he basically folded at some point and decided he was going to go ahead and, you know, get the free lunch. But the funny thing is, he tested positive, and he's supposed to be fully free lunched up, but he tested positive, and they sat him out. You know, he went into the whole NBA protocol where he had to kind of sit out, and you know, but then he went and tested 2 more times negative. And he tweeted out that, you know, there's something fishy going on with this whole thing, because 1 minute y'all telling me this, and then I go and test, and now it's this. And so it's just a big, you know, in a nutshell, like I said, we're in the great revealing right now. So a lot of things you have to pay attention to, and you have to take note that the more the powers that be have to prop up a lot of things, they're still going to spring up a leak somewhere, and people are watching now, all eyes on everything right now. So once something pops up and we jump on it right quick, they got to create another narrative for it, and then something else pops up. So I thought it was real interesting that he tweeted that out, that he thought something, you know, wasn't quite right, because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of missed targets with some of the information that they're putting out. And I thought that was interesting, being that he was, you know, he had a hard-nosed stance on, I ain't really fooling with that, I'm a chill, which, you know, it is what it is.
There's a
lot. I thought that was interesting, but go ahead.
With that, there's a lot that's not quite right. There's a lot, like, really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of commercials out there, I'll tell you that.
Well, put it this way. If when I get back into that bag, it'll probably be on another platform like BitChute. I'll probably have those videos on BitChute, because I've already got in trouble for, you know, dealing with, you know, that, the boogeyman. Yeah, they sat me down for a few days in Facebook jail, because they didn't really want me speaking on it. But like I said before, when someone wants to control the narrative about information, then there's definitely something to hide. When we have all of these independent thinkers and independent researchers on this planet, and you don't want nobody to say anything, you want to flag everybody, You want to ban people just for saying, hey, there's a researcher over here, there's a doctor over here, there's a virologist over here. You don't want nobody to say nothing. You want to control everything. You want to fact check everything. And who fact check the fact checkers?
I don't care if it's mouse or God himself that comes down. Like you have to make it make sense, like rationally.
Exactly.
You know, like it's
yeah, so I thought I wanted to touch on that right quick. Yeah, so very interesting thing. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was there's a tech company, once again, because we talked about this on another show about Bill Gates wanting to block out the sun. And we kind of touched on, you know, why these people want to block out the sun, this, that, and the third. But now we have a new tech company that's tied to Amazon, who is trying to invent this whole scenario where they want to block out the sun to combat global warming and to ward off whatever they're trying to ward off. But this is good. This actual conversation about the sun is going to spill over into the topic of the show that we got going on tonight, because the sun plays a crucial part in the juncture where we are right now in that evolution. And the fact that you have these big tech companies want to create this technology that wants to block out the sun because this global warming thing doesn't quite make any sense to the normies. I call them normies, for the normal people. I understand it. So anything y'all want to put on with the, you know, put into the pot with the whole blocking out the sun thing?
I something. I don't know if it was Twitter or if it was on TikTok, but it was like a brief snippet. This was months ago, and it was a young Caucasian dude, and he said that the sun's intent something in regards to like the sun and how it's intensifying, and the only people that would be able to survive it, you know, like sustain through it would be us melanated people. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like they and he was pretty much warning Caucasians of whatever's going on with the sun. So you saying that is like, that's something.
Yeah. They're gonna go and throw on some sun protector and get biggest tan of their life. They'll take the chance.
They ain't got no sun protector that's gonna protect them from this. But keep in mind that even when you get in some of these ancient writings, you know, if you even want to use the Bible, in the book of Malachi, it talks about the Son of Righteousness cleansing the earth, you know, in the last days. But it didn't say S-O-N, it said S-U-N. So we're talking about, you know, and then there's another, you know, phrase in the Bible where it talks about that the earth would not be destroyed or cleansed anymore with water like the flood, but it would be fire would be used. So when they talk about fire, we're talking about the sun. So the sun is supposed to get this thing back balanced how it's supposed to be, because the sun sends out. Keep in mind, when you eat an apple, you're actually eating physical sunlight, because sunlight went into creating this actual piece of fruit. And when you eat it, you're going to break it down to its energetic state, and it feeds you. Everything's energy.
Right.
So I think that's very deep. But on that note, let's go ahead and get into our topic of discussion. Gonna play. All right, we are back. Definitely got to check on my commercials. My little plugins are acting a little weird today. But anyhow, we're going to keep on rolling. We're going to keep on rolling. But the topic of discussion today is what makes you black? And the reason why I asked that question is because I've been in discussions with people and, well, debates actually, where people want to define black as just a pigmentation. They can look at someone and say, well, that person is black because they have a darker hue, right? But then when you look at a person who does not have so much as a darker hue, but they're not European, they don't want to identify as this, what we call black, right? And I thought that's a very taboo discussion because you have certain groups who will not classify themselves as black. But let's define first, before we get into that bag, what we consider black, what will be technically the definition of black, and let's take it higher on what this black thing may be. So on that note, let's just start with if you had to define black, how would you define it? Anybody?
Everything.
If you could. You said everything?
Everything.
That makes sense.
Everything. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, how would I define it? I don't even know.
Well, if you think about it, let's be real. Black is a fabrication. You know what I mean? The word black itself is a fabrication. So you pretty much kind of stuck on book stuff, to be honest with you. I mean, black is it really, it doesn't define who we are, to be honest with you, but that's how I feel about it anyway. You know, that's something you were named. Somebody gave you somebody gave you a definition. Somebody, okay, I'm gonna call you black. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna give you a history and everything. So it's a lot deeper than that.
I would add on that to a degree, that would be right to a degree, because black is they use it in the sense to describe us, but black is not a nationality. It's a color.
Right.
So you can't use it.
Black.
Yeah, you cannot. You can't use a color to define a person's nationality. And I think this is why some of the debates come up, because you might have, let's say, some Hispanics or Cubans or people from the Caribbean who are very fair skinned, who may say, if you call them black, they may feel offended and say, I'm not black. But under what context are you not? Now, I get it if you say, look, black is not a nationality. I may be blah, 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 or blah, 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 but I'm not that because that is not a nationality. But if you're saying you're not black because of, now keep in mind with our programming, you have some people say they're not black because they don't want to be associated with niggas. I mean, just keep it a bean.
That's only because they've put out such a negative connotation. There's so much more to us than what is portrayed. So if perhaps they knew our history opposed to what is being told to people, because a lot of us don't know our history. Of course, the other nationalities and races and everything, they don't know our history. But if they did, and some of us act like, or recognize where we come from, then there would be a lot more respect for black, so to speak.
See, it's now what y'all saying with the black thing. Again, I ain't gonna lie to you. When they ask me what nationality I am, I put none, because, like I said, I feel like everything was named from a slave master. So I'm not accepting that. You know what I mean? I'm a human. I'm a man. I'm a being. I ain't gonna let somebody dial me in as a particular unit. You know what I mean? So I don't deal with none of that stuff. I'm a free man. I'm a free exister. I'm not under any label. I'm not taking fame for anybody. That's how I look at it. I'm not a part of none of that. So it's not nothing against black people, nothing against white people, nothing against Spanish, any of that. I'm not accepting something that somebody gave me in their system or something they created and they gave me a name. No, I'm gonna make my own name. I'm a free man. I'm not gonna sit there and label myself with the fabrication again.
Being a free thinker, I think that is a good, like one of my teachers used to always say, we need to take back the power and it's okay for us to take back the power and rename things how we see fit as indigenous people of the planet. Because like DCR said, these are concepts given to us, and those concepts are put into a legal system. And within that legal system, we are bound to be enforced upon certain legalities based on the fact that we are not sovereign. When you're not sovereign, you fall under the jurisdiction of something that's foreign, which America technically is a corporation, technically. And it's like going into a store. Anything on the shelves in a store has a barcode on it. And that barcode has a number on it. And that number basically lets you know that that product is owned by a corporation, which is that store. So when they scan that barcode, it's going to tell you who owns it. So we are, as displaced Africans, and I like using that term because when you look at Africans as a whole, we are all over the earth. There's not one geographical location where, we are over the entire planet. And with that being said, we are indigenous to the earth. Now we can get into the conversation of being the ones who were here first. And with that being said, scientists, Europeans, scholars, they have already proven through their own research and their own scientific studies who was here first. They will admit that. So we were here first. But when you have all these other quote unquote so-called races, which they're not races, they're just different variations of the original. You dig? When you look at a color scheme and you have black, and as you go through the color scheme, you got all these different shades that spin off of that black. And once you get to the end of the color scheme, you may have white or void. There's nothing past that point. There's nothing past the point of originality. So when you look at the color scheme, everybody that's in between the end point and the beginning point are different variations of the original. But you can't get anything out of the last step on the totem pole. So when you look at Europeans, there is nothing that can come out of them that's going to give birth to any other shade from the original. They are the last stop on the spectrum is what I'm saying.
Right.
So anything in between, safe to say they're like cousins, uncles, nephews, but they're not different races. They just family, different shades of they're different shades of our family.
Manifestation of the original, just actually exactly. not as in a evolved, but just another mixture from the same seed. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Sometimes we gotta look at it as it's like you said, it still manifests itself as a shade in nature. So trying to say you're greater or lesser or this or that is just really an opinion or is really just a thought, because everything comes in different forms. You got African bears, you got bears from Antarctica, the white bears, and from Alaska. You got all different kinds, but they all bears, right? So it's like they're all from their region. It's like we take on our region, So,
and that's another scientific part of the whole thing. The geographical locations do play a part in our anatomy.
Manifestation, yeah.
That's important to put in. Geographical location plays a part in our anatomy. You can't tell me that Europeans flourished in the desert. I can't. Just common sense will tell you that they cannot survive in a desert climate, and they were not original in a climate of the desert where the heat is just insane.
Fortune.
So when we get down to what makes you black, and the reason why this whole discussion came up is because when you look at the fact that you may be looking at some people And one person may say, well, I'm going to always say, if they're not European, what is European? Well, technically, European will have blonde hair, and some form of a colored eye, most likely blue. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at blonde hair, when you get your hair color, what they got to do to it first before they put the color in? They got to bleach it, right?
Right.
So when you look at the color scheme, the European will be at the very end of the spectrum. That's not to say they're not family. They're like the last stop on the copy machine. You done copy this shit so much now you can't get nothing else out of it. They're the last piece of, that's all you got. That's it. Ain't nothing else can get out of this. That's what they are, but they still a part of us. We gave birth to them. They're our family. But at the same time, you're dealing with a psychology that comes into play when you really know that you are, I'm not going to say out of order, but there's something just quite not right because your relationship with nature is kind of jacked up. You become a little angry. You become a little aggressive when you know that you can't assimilate into nature like other people can. You take Europeans based on historical fact. They can go and destroy something so grand in nature, maybe for money, profit, whatever. Burn the rainforest down. The rainforest is the lungs of the planet, gives us oxygen.
Right.
Why would you go and set that on fire? Why? Let alone all the medicine and things that are there that we haven't even dealt with yet. But what inside of you would allow you to go that far? Because when you have this weak copy that you can't get nothing else out of, you don't have that connection to nature anymore. So now you can do things and you don't feel it. That's just like when you said, DCR, if I see an animal and the animal's hurt or somebody did something bad to the animal, I feel some type of way because you have a connection with the phenomenal universe around you that we call nature. You don't have a connection with nature. Now you can create factories and pump sludge into the clouds and pollute and pour stuff in the water and mess it up. And where's the connection to humanity? So when we talk about Europeans, we're talking about ourselves that is out of control. But the universe puts its checks and balances in when it comes to that. So when you see a person that is a lighter shade, I've had people say, well, they're not black. And I say, why aren't they black? Well, if you ask them, they're going to say they're not black. If you base that on their complexion, because you've had, and like Jay said, you have people who don't know their history. And our history encompasses everybody's history. So if you have somebody who is Hispanic who says they're not black, they don't know their history. That's what that boils down to. Because I can go to Puerto Rico right now and find somebody, the color of my watch band in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna turn around and tell me you ain't black, or you're not a part of you're not a melanated being. You're not a part of the indigenous people of the planet. That's because they don't know their history. That's really what it boils down to. Now you can't go to Europe and find Europeans and say, produce me somebody the color of this watch band. It ain't happening. It can't.
It's
any tribe.
Black.
Yeah. So if you can go to that tribe, and I'm gonna call them tribes, if you can go to any tribe and pull out somebody the color of this watch band, they black. It's gonna keep it a beam.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what they say. I hear you. They say they ain't black. But yeah. Go tell grandma that. They may have a grandmother this color of the watch band.
That happens here all the time. South Florida. Cubans.
Oh, really?
Dominicans, whatever. Mostly the Cubans, they do not associate. They could be as dark as my hair. They do not associate with, nope.
It could because of the history with the words behind, like, how like us, you know, like how I said we were labeled as something, and we took on that label, and you know, we actually accepted that label. And some people don't want to accept that label. That sometimes you gotta look at it from a different perspective. Like some people don't want to be labeled as that. It's a label. It's not you. It's not who we are. It's a label that somebody stamped on your ass. I don't want that stamp. You can have the stamp. You could take the stamp with you and suffer and whatever you're doing with it, you can take it with you because it's a label, like we were saying earlier. The label means nothing, but it has a history and it has a code to it. And I can understand why even the darkest people would say, I'm not black. Like you said, like, you know, I'm saying, but you have to look at it from different perspectives.
You're right. You
gotta look at it, man. Because that's something that was that whole code and everything around that is based on slavery and control and submission. Nobody wants to label themselves as a prisoner. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just something how you want to. If you're trying to grow, you gotta let go of some things. You gotta let go of the names, the codes, and all that shit. You know what I mean? You can't stay in that mind state because that keeps you a prisoner. It keeps you a slave. Yeah, I'm black. Yeah, I'm a nigga. I'm a, you know what I mean? You know, all this stuff what your slave master gave you, you still accepting his reality because you're accepting what he designed you to be.
And that's why it's important to invent your own words. We're in the phase of God creating whatever it sees fit. So I use terms as original man. I use melanated. I use indigenous. I use earth tone. Those are the terms that I use for the original people.
Your name is the most original you can get. If you, you know what I mean, give yourself a name is basically the original, your original blood type, whatever your you know, your family, whatever. That's what really separates you from everybody is how you cultivate it, how your family cultivate the people who you grew up with, your mother, father, their mother, father. That's where you should be really connecting yourself to anyway. You know what I mean? The name that your family created for y'all, you know what I mean? So that's how I believe
down in Florida, what's the baseball player name that bleached his skin?
Damn.
Barry Bonds? Is it Barry Bonds? I think he's from Cuba.
I don't know about doing that shit, Shotty.
He might be from Cuba. You know what I'm talking about?
I know. But the bleaching, when I tell you, it pisses me off. Like, you have no idea. And it's always like the island, like Jamaicans, Haitians, you know, I guess the baseball player, I don't know, you know, majority.
That's a slave mind.
That do the bleaching.
That's a slave mind. That's a mind that's caught up in the system and trying to find its place.
It's like, and like, you know, I remember having a conversation with a nurse, and I was saying to her, like, do you know how beautiful you are? Like, why in this stuff? Like, because I could tell she was getting like these. You can kind of tell when they are, because you can see the two different tones, and then you see like the bumps, the red. You know, like really, that chemical is really like damaging their skin, you know. And it was just like, oh, you know, she wanted to be lighter, like. And me, if I was to die and come back right now, I would be a couple of shades darker. I would be a couple of shades darker. Like, when I tell you I love black skin, like dark skin, I love dark skin. I think we are like the most beautiful beings on this planet. And I don't understand, like, I hate the bleaching, like, but people, you'd be surprised how many people are bleaching, men, women.
Like I said, they're part of the system, though. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to find a way. They're trying to be accepted. You know what I mean? So everybody thinks differently in how they see the world, you know? So you got those who want to be judgmental, but I think it's the most dumbest shit in the world, to be honest with you.
I think it's dumb.
Just dumb. Straight up dumb.
I wish that, like, people had more of an understanding and not just like what the media says, like that, like how we are a people, you know what I'm saying? Like our culture, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we have a culture though? You know what I mean? Like, what is our culture? Somebody, the same person that named you black gave you a culture too. So it's like, you really, right now, you got to make your own culture. This is like, you got to reevaluate everything and start fresh and kind of build from there, because a lot of things that was given to us is basically, again, slave related. Everything is slave related. What do you get from slavery? Like what do you get? Like, I mean, really, like, how can you go back and you just really going back into slavery? You're basically just saying whips and chains and shit like that, and you know, skin color judgment and oppression and nothing inspiring. There is no inspiring things in the black culture. Nothing inspiring because of that word black, and because that is affiliated with a code of slavery. So you gotta let that shit go. You gotta let it go.
All right, Jay, what you gotta say?
And do that, especially when you have, like, I mean, we're talking here, but you don't have many people that are aware or even concerned with, you know. And then you have the children, like this generation that's being raised, and they have no concern with, you know, our what we should start over as our culture. You know what I'm saying? Like our history and all of that stuff. Nobody
But
I don't want to say nobody, but I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like, you know.
No.
Like,
I actually get what you're saying, but you gotta look at it this way too, though. These kids do not look at each other's skin color. You know what I mean? These kids today, the mixture of these kids, they do not judge each other by skin color. We gotta somehow kind of get rid of the judgment of skin color. We keep it alive. People from the past keep skin color hate alive. They feed it into their kids. We shouldn't have to be judgmental about skin colors or who's better at this and who greater than this and all that stuff. None of that that's all irrelevant when you're trying to evolve. If you're gonna like it's like we gotta accept the past, whatever, if it's real or not, or okay, that was the past. You cannot go and take the past and keep reliving it. You can't keep storing it into generation. Kids start looking at each other funny now at a certain age because they parents, or these stupid movies, like these slavery movies, and you know, I'm gonna let you know where you from. Maybe they don't need to know that much, and the other kids don't. None of the kids need to know.
But that's not all that is to know. Like,
yeah, that's not all that is.
But that's all that's given to us, though. I'm talking about majority.
It's biased. Yeah,
I get what you're saying, because when they think of like what we've been through and stuff, the slavery is what comes up. You know what I'm saying? Which
exactly
is a significant part. So I get what you're saying, but that's not all that we are. You know what I'm saying? So
true.
How
you change your listen. The thing is,
without the narrative, like just the slavery, like we come from so much more.
Exactly,
more.
But we gotta change. A lot of things need to be changed to get to that point, though. When you want to, you know, see the bright side to the past and all that, a lot of things gotta change, like family values. It starts with the parents. We already know this. Me,
I was about to say,
Dre, you. It start with us. We gotta, you know, you have to raise your kids. Like put it this way. Like, for instance, we was talking last time about holidays. Thanksgiving, let's call it Family Day. That gets rid of all the bullshit. Let's call it Family Day. We get time to chill with our family, be home. We can cook big meals. It don't have to be a goddamn turkey sacrificing, you know, killing turkeys and shit like that. Don't have to be none of that. You turn the holiday into your own personal things, like even Christmas. Make it a personal thing with your family. It doesn't have to be breaking your pockets to tell somebody you love them or you appreciate them. It doesn't have to be none of that. You can transform shit by using the leverage from the things that's happening. It might be the history behind the thing that's going on that you're celebrating. It might be bad, but you don't have to celebrate it, but you can take advantage of the window. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to say. We can recreate ourselves in that way.
We can.
It takes time.
Yeah, let me add on.
Totally agree.
Let me add on. Yeah, let me let me add on to what she was saying, and what you were saying. that our history, of course, well, our true history does not get told in its entirety, simply because you got to understand that to tell our true history is to tell the true history of our colonizers. Yeah. And that means that a lot of things will have to be changed and things will have to be given up when you tell the truth. Like if somebody comes into your house and convinces you that your house is their house, and you buy into that, and then a couple of generations down the line, your kids wind up figuring out that that's their house, and that's not the people who came in. It's not their house. Something has to change, and that's history. That's history that they got to go in the past and figure out. In order for them to move forward in the right manner, they got to go back into the past and figure the shit out. So our history, our true history, is so important because it sets the tone on how we move forward. Now, here's the thing about the displaced Africans in America. Based on my research, there's a reason why we are here in this part of the planet, on this part of the planet, because during the quote unquote end times, there's a certain group of Africans, displaced Africans, or original man, or indigenous people, whatever you want to call them, but they have been assigned the task of ushering in true balance when it's time. So that's why we had to be cut off from a lot of things dealing with African culture. Because if you go to Africa right now, the biggest religion in Africa is Islam. That's just what it is. You have Christians you have Christians in Africa. So the continent is what it is, and it's a very important piece of the puzzle. But you got to understand something, that our Africans that are on the continent right now, they have not been chosen for end time events. That's where they are caught up in monotheistic religions. That's why they're still doing things that their colonizers have pretty much conditioned them to do. They don't deal with ancient science. They don't deal with Egyptian philosophy. They don't deal with metaphysics and chakras and all this stuff. They don't deal with that. We do, because we have been assigned a job for the end of the age. Y'all displaced Africans who was cut off from Africa and moved from your home, y'all got a job to do. So y'all got to be groomed and prepared with a certain level of information. The fact that we having this conversation is a testament to our assignment for incarnating here in the first place. It has nothing to do with us being a Muslim or being a dedicated Christian. We're having a discussion about breaking those barriers, because where we're headed, that stuff doesn't exist. So we give birth to the new age. That's our job. Mm-hmm. So our history is very important, because our ancestors, they left all the information, very advanced metaphysical information for us. It's encoded in our DNA. So
I'm about
now
to say that, yes, it's already in your brain. It's already there. All the numbers and everything is all in here. But you got to be a thinker. You got to open the thinking. You got to be a thinker.
It's encoded in our DNA, and DNA is activated and it comes online based on the light codes coming from our sun. So we are chosen for a task. What'd you say?
I said we so are.
Yeah, we're chosen for a task that's far beyond what you can even imagine. But we haven't even watched this thing fall yet. We're right at the doorway of this thing falling. So when real disarray kicks in, when real confusion kicks in, when people have no answers because their Bibles didn't say, well, space aliens are supposed to show up, and what are these things I'm seeing in my house? I can't make out what these shadow beings are and all this stuff. They can't make sense out of this. The only individuals who are able to make sense out of this are those who are in tune to not fight it, embrace their experiences. Like you said, you saw something you can't explain. We're having these experiences because it's prepping us for the veil lifting. It ain't coming into the Muslim. It ain't coming to the Christian, because if a Christian starts to have these experiences, guess what's going to happen? Those are demons. You're possessed.
Yeah.
We need to pray for you. And if you're a Muslim, they're going to be like, oh, that's a jinn. You need to go see the imam. You know. So it's not for them.
I was war prepared already. I was ready to like turn around and everything. Yo, I was thinking about my daughters and everybody. You know what I mean? I was like, my body got a little tensed up. Like, yo, I'm prepared to turn around.
So the darker hue of our skin. Let's get into the melanin thing. The melanin about our skin and our skin color. The reason why that's so important is because melanin has the ability to take all forms of light. All forms of light. Absorb it and use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what melanin has the ability to do.
Yeah.
For different faculties of spirituality as well as our biology. The more melanin you have, it's almost like a solar panel. You got big solar panels and you got weak solar panels. Some people have weak solar panels. They're taking in the melanin, but they can't get those signals and they can't get those messages as fast as the melanin dominant. That's the only difference. That means we got a stronger Wi-Fi signal. So we're going to get the information before anybody else get it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's where skin color differs. Your solar panels on your body have more capability of absorbing more light, and you can transmute more information faster than your counterpart who may or may not have it. But they're still doing the same thing you're doing. Now, if you have those transmissions, the thing is, are you assigned to do anything with it in the first place? Because some people have experiences and they just brush it off. They don't act on it. It's like, whatever. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like
why is your hand up?
Huh?
Wait a minute.
Oh,
wait a minute,
your hand up? The student?
I think she's probably having experiences.
I have.
Go ahead.
Like it's it's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but to explain it.
No,
to
we know
anybody,
what you're saying.
It's but I know it's something. Like I know that it is something, because like things used to happen, years ago. Like things used to, like I would, from dreams to seeing stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
As of recently,
exactly.
As of recently, it's again like full force. And a lot of times, like when it used to happen, I would either be fasting or, so you kind of, sometimes it's like, okay, I know I didn't just, or, even sensing or feeling things.
Yeah.
It's just like, I remember one day specifically, this is a different story, but I was talking to a nurse in a hallway, and I was standing in front of a door, and I was kind of like blocking the door from anybody because I was coming out of the room. Both of us were. And she was like standing in front of me, and she said, she's just talking. And I hear this guy say, "Excuse me." I felt him pass, and I moved forward to like let him pass. And she's looking at me like I had 6 heads. And I said to her, "Did somebody just pass here?" And she's like, no. And we still laugh about it till this day. But in my mind, I know I heard him on my right side. I heard him and I felt him pass me. We looked in the room and I'm like, you gotta be, and that just flipped me out because that was the first time I actually heard and felt something like just breeze, like, pass by. But it's,
it's real.
I have tons of stories like where I thought at one point I was going nuts, so I wouldn't.
No.
That's why I raised my hand. Like I wouldn't really share them, or I just kind of like brush it off.
I like to share those stories all the time because, I've shared a lot of stories with DCR and a lot of the brothers, but that's what I'm saying. We're in a time now where we're coming online. The green light is coming on, and that's not for everybody. And it's a reason why it's not for everybody, because for your green light to come on, you've been assigned a task. You may not have all the details, but being a melanated person, an original person, an indigenous person, or earth tone person, you are special simply because you incarnated into this vessel at this time. Because keep in mind, we've been everything throughout our incarnations. We've been white before in another life. We've been everything throughout our incarnations, everything in our past lives. It's just now we are expressing ourselves in bodies that are melanin dominated for a particular reason at this particular juncture in our universe. That's what the whole deal is. So feel special, but at the same time, the universe is protecting us and guiding us because we can't get too beat up and damaged because we ain't got to our destination yet. It's like soldiers being flown to a jump out spot and you ain't got there yet, but they shooting at the helicopter and you getting bounced around and you scared as hell, but you ain't even got to the spot where you got to jump out yet. We ain't even got there yet till we got to jump out, and then it's really real. Like, yo, this what you've been trained for, and you're not gonna have all the answers, but it will come to you. Like you said, fasting intensifies this. Go ahead.
Like if I was listening to this, maybe without experiences, because I would dream something, and I know for some people it's like, oh, come on. Because I've told stories before, and it's like, oh, like, you sure? You know, like that kind of. And those are the people that I can't really talk to. But I would dream something, and it would be exact. Like,
yeah,
literally scares me to where it's like, oh my gosh, like I dreamt that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so I now make a habit of like, if the dream sticks out to me, I'll say it. You know, I'll tell somebody so that when it comes up, because I know it's coming, and for some reason it sticks out in a sense where you know it's telling you something. You don't know.
That's what dreams are for. That's what dreams do. Dreams are a part of healing too. Dreams, like, you know, when you sleep, you know, you heal, but at the same time, everything that you took in that day or even before that, like every dream, it all comes into the dream, like all the information, and you're just putting it together in your rest state. You're getting a vision from what you put together, from what you experienced through that day. Because I used to do that too when I was fasting a lot. I was real, like, I think I fast for, I forgot what kind of fast I was on then, but I actually started dreaming on purpose. I had to go to bed at 7:30. I couldn't wait to dream. I couldn't wait to go to sleep. I was like, yeah, I can't. What I'm gonna dream tonight? Because my mind was so pure, because I didn't eat no processed foods. I didn't do, everything was completely on some real healthy shit. I mean, I was on some natural shit. My dreams was clear. See, food also can also mess your clarity up too. Like, you know how you go through your day and all that, it'll mess your clarity up. So it kind of interferes with the, you know, it makes it obscure. Like, you really, that the answers aren't so clear because you're going through so much other things in the process. But when you're pure and you're open for knowledge, your dreams become weapons.
Yep. That's why it's important for us to purify as much as possible. That way our signals are clear. Because right now is the time to be opening and listening for directions, because it's not technically going to be in a book which way to go when things get thick. You're going to have to listen and feel it.
You know that like the other day this happened to me, not even a week ago, but I haven't even been fasting, or like, you know, I haven't even been eating right since Thanksgiving, all of that, well, family day and all of that stuff. But I was getting ready for work, and I had showered, and I was getting myself together, getting dressed, and mind you, now I know, like, when I eat light and, you know, like live foods like vegetables and fruits, and, you know, like, I know everything is crystal clear, but I know I have not been eating good lately. And a thought came to me, or some, like, it's when they come, it's like somebody's talking to me. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it's like somebody's talking to me, and but it's kind of like my voice. It's weird, but and said to me, like, it said to turn your phone on silent, because usually like my grandson might be here or everybody's sleeping or something like that, and it said turn your phone on silent, this person's about to call you. And I looked at the phone for about 3 seconds, because I'm saying to myself, like, no way, like, I'm, and the phone rang. The phone rang, the person, and it was like, what the heck? Like, you got to be kidding me.
You could have tapped into telepathy. You know what I mean? Like, you know how we feel things. See, the thing is, our signals are blocked and somewhat clogged because we're not taught to believe in stuff like that, or even we never had a chance to use these parts of our brain. That's why they always tell us that we use 7% of our brain, because they give us 7% of knowledge, and they also block in signals too. But they don't block them as if they're blocking them. They're training you to block them. You know what I mean? Like everything we do, it's a lot of things we don't believe in that's actually came to fruition right now. But it's like we don't believe in things, so we block those signals. So when we do have an experience, we think it's something special, but it's really our brain just naturally working natural. You know what I mean? But we can't log in, because that login is just a myth. Or just a sci-fi movie or something like that. That's how it's like you can't tap into it, because you're not looking at it as a possible thing, or as it's really a simple thing. You know what I mean? So it's like we're taught to go against what we are. That's what makes us weak, because we don't believe who we are. I don't care what you say. You can say you this and that, but in truth, we don't even believe who we are. You know what I mean? Because we really can take this to a whole different level, but we think we're just vulnerable human beings. You know what I mean? We're affected emotionally. Anything that you're affected emotionally, it hurts. If you believe that this pinch gonna hurt, it's gonna hurt, baby. If you know what I mean, like just
right. You are so right.
So that's like what we're experiencing. Like when we have these little things that we come across, it's normal things that's always been there. We're using our brain at 100% capacity, but we closed all the doors. We were trained to close the doors. You know what I mean? So those doors never can open. They're locked. So
if I didn't have experiences like if I didn't have certain, especially the dreams, like if I didn't have certain experiences, I would probably be one of the people to say like, oh, come on, like that can't happen. Like, oh right. Yeah, really? No, like, but you can't convince anybody. Like if you know, if you get it, you get it, but there's no way. Like, and I know, like, we are a special being, because the spiritual connection and all of that is like, I just wish I learned these things, or I had parents to teach me certain things like when I was younger, because I'd be a force to be reckoned with right now. Like,
oh, we all would be, I believe. I believe
it wasn't in the paperwork. That wasn't in the paperwork. I used to ask that question, but it wasn't in the paperwork. There's certain things we had to experience before we got into this. There's certain things we had to get out the way before we got to this point. Because it would have been a issue for us to get entangled in certain things we got entangled with early on in our lives and have to deal with this. So the universe had to allow us to go through those experiences and get them out of the way. And then when things balance out a little bit in our lives and in our space, then you get into where you need to be and blah, 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 and so forth and so on. But what we're discussing now in a nutshell, without the connotation of skin color and race and all of that, this is one of the things that makes you quote unquote black. Mm-hmm. Your ability to interface on this level spiritually and feel the planet and have these experiences, like DCR said, we always had these abilities. We have arrested development. Someone has trained us, and I'm talking about the displaced Africans. I'm not talking about the ones that are on the continent, but I'm talking about us here. we have been trained not to operate on this faculty. Now what's happening is things are being kind of torn down, and you know, the internet was an invention by the powers that be, but at the same time, the universe brought us the internet because the internet was that tool that was going to connect us to the information we needed to go to the next point. So it's bigger than somebody trying to make money or this, that, or the third. They can't even shut down the internet if they wanted to, because the internet is the blood of everything. Once the internet goes, then we're in that phase. We're in that phase of now your spiritual capabilities are on full throttle.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is put Negroes in the dark. Take everything away that's distracting them. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Because now they're gonna go inward, and when they do that,
they keep giving us money. Why you think they keep allowing people to have money and everything? Because they don't want to put you back against the wall, because then you become formidable. What was that word? Did I say that right? Formidable. You become equal. Once your back's put against the wall, your enemy, you have no choice anymore. Choice is gone now. Once your back is against the wall, you have no choice but to go through whatever's pushing your back against the wall, because if you don't, your ass is grass. Nobody wants to put you in that position. They'll rather feed you some bullshit and have you slowly go back to where they want you. They're not going to starve you. Starving a motherfucker, you taking a big risk. Think about it, dog. If you starving somebody, you got food all over here and all that stuff, and you ain't feeding them because of your little, you can't have my food is my food, and that person's starving over there, eventually that person is just going to take it all. So you're going to give them a little bit. Give them a couple of crumbs. They'll be all right for a few hours. Give them a couple of crumbs here and there. That's how they treat us. That's how they treat actually humanity, period, to keep them under control, because they know if they cut it all off, we become equal. You putting us on equal basis now. There is no more, everybody's back's against the wall now. There is no other way to go but through the motherfucker that's pushing their back against the wall. So,
and this is the sauce. This is the sauce that makes you, we're going to use the term black for sake of conversation, but this is what makes you black, the experience. We are the light of the it's like watching something in black and white, and then all of a sudden it has color. Color is black. We put the rhythm in it. We take the cowboy hat that you was wearing and bend up the sides and say, rock it like this. But, you know, that's black. We put the movement in this thing from all aspects. So when you're looking at skin colors and people say they're not black and they're not this, I get it on so many different levels when you don't want to be associated with the word based on conditioning. I get that. But when you know your true history, you understand that if you're not European, you are black. Whether you Jamaican, whether you Haitian, Cuban, all of these words that give you a name based on your geographical location. But when you strip it all down, we are still indigenous people all over the world, even in the jungles and the rainforest and this and that. There's still melanated beings. You can take a European and if they have freckles, those are melanin spots. Those little specks of melanin that they have on their skin. All right. That's what that is. They're sprinkled with melanin. So melanin, you have it's called you got exomelanin and you got endomelanin. You got melanin that works on the inside. You got melanin that works on the outside, or predominant. It's dominant on the outside because of your complexion and your skin and your pigmentation. So Europeans have melanin. It's just not pronounced. Put it that way. Our shit is pronounced. You know, they are our children. And when I say they're our children, it's because the original genotype gave birth to them. That's a scientific fact. It is what it is. So when you got the last clone from the cloning process and you can't clone nothing else from it, that's it. You've taken out a lot of things in that process that are going to allow them to not function properly.
Or probably function on the opposite level.
Now you got it. Right. Now you got it. They're the polar opposite. They're the polar opposite. So we are all black. Everybody's black on the entire planet. Everybody. But you want to get into the science of it? We can do that. But I just want our people to understand that pigmentation does not ultimately define who you are. It helps with classification, but it does not define who you are.
Right.
Because you got to understand that people who have the melanin dominant pronunciation of their biology, they can do certain things. It just comes with the territory. Shit, nigga got big arms, maybe he can pick up a car. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is, you know? But that has nothing to do, I mean, another thing, and here's what I don't like, because I had a conversation about this, about, you know, white folks around me. Like, I'm not racist. Black people can't be racist anyway. But anyway, if I'm around a European and we're cool, I want you to be yourself. I can respect you and enjoy you for who you are if you just be yourself. But if you come around me trying to act like a nigga, I'm gonna be uncomfortable, because now you're gonna have to do everything in a pronounced fashion to prove to me that you're something that you're not.
Yeah.
And that makes me uncomfortable, because you're gonna cuss the loudest, you're gonna be ready to fight more than us, you're gonna want to smoke more than everybody else, you're gonna want to get drunk more than everybody, you're gonna get no. If you just a regular white person, then just be regular white. This some shit I gotta ask you. I want to know why y'all like Miracle Whip and shit like that. I don't know why y'all eat what y'all eat. Like, you know, you might want to ask me some shit. I'm just saying.
I actually worked with a white person like that one time. I actually worked with a white. He was like always asking me a lot of questions about.
They're interesting. He was interesting, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was just telling him, you know, like, you like, why? Because I think Nas, what song was that? Something about, I forgot the name of the song, man. Dang.
Who wrote the song?
Nas. What do you say? Something about "Cry for Me." Got to let the song cry for. What is it called?
That's Jay-Z.
That's Jay-Z.
No, it was not.
Song "Cry." I think that's Jay-Z. But anyway, get to your point.
He was just asking me, like, this song doesn't, like, it didn't make sense to him, and I was explaining it to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's cool.
Got on to it. You know what I mean? I kind of explained it to him. You know what I mean? So he was always interested. This was when I came to visit y'all in Atlanta. That was back in '98 or something. He would ask me just so much. I was like an experiment to this nigga. So
exactly.
So it's like everything I was doing, you know, I was like, you know, whatever. But yeah, it was kind of interesting, and he was interested. So I mean, you know, whatever, it is what it is, man. But it was great, man. And I actually, you know, I actually, that's why, you know, from me interacting and working with different nationalities, and you know, that's why I don't really make judgment on skin color no more. Like, you know, like when you start really working with certain people there, everybody's different. You know what I mean? You got great souls, and we all have a mind. You know what I mean? And the mind is really what, to me, that separates everybody from each other. Like, you know, it's just the way you think, man. We got to go down to our true powers right here, man. And this thing, like you said, it has all the information. You really don't really have to learn how to do stuff, because it's really already there once you put in that position. When, you know what I'm saying, once you have to do something without anybody around, it's so easy to figure it out, instead of asking somebody else to do something for you. Like, the information is already there. I done did so many things on fixing myself and reestablishing my health and my physical without asking the doctor or without doing this and that, because I had no choice. In my mind, I'm not listening to my mind, because like you said, how they train you is the need. We all need the things from the outside to come and help us, instead of helping us from the inside and out. You know what I mean? From getting the information here, we seek the information from other people, when the information is damn near, how our DNA got so much information in it. From, we can't even count the years. You got so much information that all you got to do is really just sit back and listen to your mind. Your mind will tell you every which way how to fix yourself naturally. there is ways to improve it. All it's just basic mathematics that's already in your head how you put it together. You learn every day, man. But it's just you don't need to live off the need. You need money to eat. You need a doctor to fix you. You need medicines to make you feel better. You need this to, you need surgery. You need all this is based on money. It's like everything is like your God is money. You think that you can't fix yourself without a doctor or without money. You know what I mean?
We're at a juncture now where we're coming to that reality at this point.
Yeah, I'm sorry how I got there, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, we at a junction now where that's just very apparent that it is. We are here now. Everything right. That we've been seeking has manifested right in front of us on so many different levels, as well as external threats, as well as things that are internally guiding us. So we got all the answers. I mean, but the bottom line is on race theory is we are all one. We're just operating in a different frequency. That's just what it is.
But it is also too, like you said, yeah. But everybody is really operating in their own frequency, and to a higher degree.
That's a different frequency.
It's like you're working like, well, how come like somewhat? We all we all have a universe here. This is a universe. You have a universe. She has a universe. Everybody has an imagination that looks a little bit different from somebody else's imagination. It's never the same. If you pictured what you pictured in your head, looking at the same thing, it will be different looking out of somebody else's mind or brain, how they're looking at it and what they see out of it. You know what I mean? So we all have our own world inside of here, so we can bring all types of stuff from that world and bring it, and to bring it to a manifestation. However we do it, we can bring it to existence. We can bring dimensions. We can bring what's in here out here. It's like that's what we hear.
You about to get your chance real soon, buddy. I want to screen share something right quick to show y'all this this picture of old boy. That's the dude that I was talking about. Y'all see the screen?
Yeah. What's up with him?
That's the same person. He bleached his skin.
Damn.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Bleached
his skin.
I don't get annoyed by, I get annoyed, but I don't get annoyed. But this annoys me.
Yeah, that's next level.
Hey, you gotta let that man live in his world. That's his, you have to let him be him.
You're so right.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna infringe on free will. Free will is a universal gift to everyone. Do what you do. Like I said, there is consequences for stepping outside of the bounds of universal law. I don't make the rules, so do what you do. But there are consequences for stepping outside of universal law, or even infringing on and attempting to do such a thing. It comes with consequences. And that's not because the universe is going to punish you. That's because you are going to punish you. Right. Because you have free will to do what you want to do. Some things comes at a cost. And that's the thing about true spirituality. We think that people in monotheistic religion think that there's some being that is dictating your rights and your wrongs, but ultimately you have to get this thing together, man. You got to figure this thing out and learn. And if you don't do that, then it's like school. You get left back. You have to repeat a grade, and it is what it is. But on that note, so I think we're at the 119 mark.
Yeah.
I think it was a definitely good talk on race. What makes you black? In a nutshell, there is no particular one thing that makes you black, but I do just based on reality that you have indigenous people of the earth that were here that set the tone for everybody else. And the closer you are to that original spark, you become a distant but close relative. And the farther away you get from that original spark, you become the end product of the original prototype. Thus, you have the European.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that they are not worthy of anything. We have to deal with them accordingly. It's like having a pet tiger. A pet tiger, in their nature, they're going to do ultimately what they're going to do. If you forget that, then that's your stupidity. But when they do what is in their nature, it is what it is. So you start making all these copies of the original. You get to a point where you can't make no more copies. You're gonna have this last prototype that is functional, but it's doing things. It's like a cancer cell. It's like a cancer cell. That's exactly what it is. It has broken off and it is doing some weird shit. And it ain't following the other. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's causing problems. That's exactly what. Hey, that's the best analogy.
That is a good analogy, but yeah, it's a little.
Yes.
It tickled me a little bit.
And the universe will heal that, you know. And some of us will get
doing that though. But it's already doing that by they say interratio. However you want to look at it.
It's correcting that. Yeah.
That's actually the process of correction right there. What's going on now?
That's one of the process of corrections. Then you got to deal with the Son of Righteousness, the SUN, that's going to do what it does to speed up this process of elimination. Then you have those of us who have strayed away from our original paths, and we have to suffer the consequences of that. So it's not about picking sides. It's about you choosing what part of the system you want to serve. That's it. You either a part of where the planet is going, or you're working against it. And if you're working against it, then the universe decides not as a being, but it decides as a mechanic to say, hey, this is what I can use. This is what I don't need. Let me eliminate this. I'm going to use that. That's just how it sustains itself. It's checks and balance. It's a mechanic of the universe. So on that note, I'm black, you black, we all black, Jack, and it is what it is. It is what it is. But great show. I'd like to thank my co-host today, my brother DCR, who's always on the show, and we like to thank Jay, who graced the show today with her presence, and she did great. Hopefully she'll come back and have another show with us and chop it up and all that good stuff. But
that'd be nice.
Yeah, and I was expecting a couple of other brothers to come through, but you know how they do. But we definitely would see them tomorrow on Straight Up Podcast, which I don't know what the topic's gonna be tomorrow. You know what we talking about tomorrow?
I don't know. I think we're gonna freestyle like we've been normally doing.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything about exactly what they're gonna do tomorrow. But we always get in there and do what we need to do accordingly. And
we gotta do that. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Jay actually been watching. She actually been watching a lot of our shows. She said she's been binge watching. She actually enjoys the show.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I guess we out here need. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I watched that. I've been watching y'all all day today. I watched y'all all day today, and the other day it popped up on my phone, and I said, "Well, let me see what's going on with this." And
you end up on this joint.
I even comment, like when you say stuff, and when the other guys, I'm even like putting my input in, and y'all can't even hear me. But yeah, it's good.
That's good. She's talking about
the podcast too. You watch both?
I've been watching
that too.
Watching all of them. I'm going one at a time. I think today I watched the submission and then the plastic surgery and I watched quite a few. So yeah. I'm not in there, but I'm in
Sweet.
there.
That's what's up, man.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys have some good perspectives for sure. Good perspectives for sure. It's good. I think this is like perfect. It's going in the right direction. Yeah, it's my opinion.
Just come on a lot more.
We need some of those heavy. Oh, that's brainwashed on heavy though.
Yeah, brainwashed on heavy is we really go in on some some next level things.
Yeah,
we really do.
I think it was pretty heavy tonight. I think that was pretty heavy.
Yeah, but we got there. I mean, yeah, I just wanted to take the conversation of race a little bit further than just somebody looking at you saying you black or I'm not black, because it's a little deeper than that, and a lot of people don't really discuss in its proper perspective how deep it can get. And definitively, we know if people knew our history, which is their history, they wouldn't even make certain comments because it puts them in the pot with everybody else. They just don't realize it.
Right.
But they're just looking at color. They're just looking at skin tones and all this other stuff. But that's the majority. Now you have some who would just deal with the fact that don't call me black because black means some nigga shit. Now I ain't no nigga. I get it. Yep, I get it. But on that note, I am your host, Brother Mordeeb, and this is POD, Put Out Direct Podcast, another show. We gonna wish everybody peace and protection and prosperity and love and light, as they say. This stuff's so cliche, but just be safe out there. And until we meet again, y'all be easy. All right. Don't hang up.